G'day there. K-Obiol is Bayer's grain protectant, now used by farmers and bulk handlers all over Australia. In fact, if you're a user, you might even remember me from the original instructional video. And if you don't, my name's K-Obiol, and my business is to help bulk handlers store grain for maximum profit. This video is an update on our original training video, designed for you on the farm. It'll show you how to correctly apply Bayer's K-Obiol grain protectant in combination with either phenetrythine or chlorpyrifos methyl. Now the combination helps protect against insect resistance and protects your grain quality and income. Now for malt barley or maize, you must use K-Obiol with phenetrythine. For all other cereal products, you can use either combination. K-Obiol is a widely used grain protectant, used by bulk grain handlers for over 20 years. Its active is deltamethrin, which is a synthetic pyrethroid. Phenetrythine and chlorpyrifos methyl are both organophosphate insecticides, sold under different brand names. Here we have Sumathine and Reldan Grain Protector. You just need to check which one you choose is registered for the intended use. And before we go into detail, let's recap some basics. Essentially, there are two ways to protect your grain from insect infestation, with a protectant or with a fumigant. Because a fumigant is a gas, it can only be used in a gas-tight sealed storage, and it becomes ineffective once the storage has been opened. K-Obiol, on the other hand, is a protectant. This means it can be used in an unsealed storage, and it will protect your grain for up to 9 months in optimal conditions. While K-Obiol, mixed with phenetrythine and chlorpyrifos methyl, will give you reliable long-term protection, there are maximum levels of these actives acceptable in Australian and overseas markets, as well as some withholding periods that apply. This is why it is so important for you to follow the directions on the label and in this video. In Australia, we have an industry recommended outturn limit of 1 part per million of deltamethrin remaining on products that enter the food chain, and many of the countries we export to have similar standards. And the good news is that if you treat your grain properly, the ROL won't be exceeded, and there are no uses in Australia where K-Obiol treated grain is not accepted. The only exception to this is for pesticide residue free markets, or PRF, and where food is certified organic. There is more information on this on the Australian Pesticides and Veterinary Medicines Authority website. The key to protecting your income is to make sure you use K-Obiol properly. And before we get going, we need to be clear on what grains we can protect with K-Obiol and what we can protect against. Firstly, K-Obiol can be used to treat wheat, moulding barley, oats, sorghum, rice, maize and other cereal grains, but must not be used on oilseeds or pulses. Secondly, while K-Obiol will give your grain long-term protection from all insect infestations, it does not kill live insects, so it's important that your grain is not infested before treatment. There are 4 simple steps to applying K-Obiol and your choice of either phenetrythine or chlorpyrifos methyl. But remember, the mixing partner you choose must be registered for the grain you are applying it to. You'll need your auger or elevation equipment, spray unit and your spray nozzle. The spray nozzle you choose should be clean and in good condition and set up to provide even coverage over the grain. Nozzle choice is important to ensure you minimise spray drift and maximise coverage. We recommend using a flat spray nozzle rated to a similar capacity to your auger. Now that last bit's important. It's essential that K-Obiol is applied through a spray unit and not drip fed onto your grain. You might have heard of some farmers drip feeding, but it's not the best option. The problem is you'll get high concentrations of the chemical in some areas and low concentrations in others. In other words, you just won't be getting even coverage on your grain. Now you probably already know this, but if in doubt, you need to check how long it takes your auger to load a tonne of the type of grain you're intending to treat. This is because, as you know, different types of grain can load at slightly different rates. For example, let's say you know it takes your auger 35 minutes to fill a 27-tonne truck with wheat. 27 tonnes divided by 35 minutes equals 0.77 tonnes per minute. 0.77 multiplied by 60 equals 46 tonnes per hour. We'll come back to this figure later. First, check your nozzle location and adjustment. You want the spray nozzle to spray directly across the flow of the grain. No doubt many of you have your own system, but the basic objective is to minimise spray drift, get even coverage of the grain, and maximise the mixing effect of your auger. As you can see, we have our nozzle set up to spray directly into the barrel of the auger, fairly close to where the grain is picked up. Spraying the grain before it enters the auger is not recommended, as you don't get even coverage on the grain and you increase the risk of spray drift. Next, adjust your spray unit to put out 1 litre of mixture in the time it takes you to load 1 tonne of grain. It's easy to remember because we have 1 litre of mixture per tonne of grain. With our example we gave before, our auger was loading 0.77 tonnes every minute. We need to adjust our spray unit to put out 0.77 litres or 770 mils every minute. For calibration, it's much safer to use fresh water, and why take the risk of wasting chemical? And finally, and this is obvious, make sure you have enough fuel and spray to cover the amount of grain you're going to load on each occasion to ensure that you're fully covered. As when dealing with any farm chemicals, it's important to get the right safety gear set up before you start. For K-Obiol, you'll need elbow length PVC gloves, full length cotton overalls buttoned at the neck and the wrist, apron, goggles or face shield to protect you from splashes to the skin. Depending on the mixing partner, you may also need a chemical respirator. Skin contact with K-Obiol can cause strong reactions with some people. These usually settle down within 1 to 2 hours, but can be avoided by using the correct safety gear. For extra protection, we recommend using a barrier cream available from your local pharmacy. The next step is to mix K-Obiol and your selected mixing partner. To fully protect your grain, you'll need to achieve 1 part per million of deltamethrin. This is easy to do in the following way. The directions are on the label. 2 litres of K-Obiol diluted to 100 litres total volume of water treats 100 tonnes of grain, and you can see how the other quantities work out. You can check all this out on the online training. Now you have your K-Obiol mixture ready to go, you'll need to add in the right amount of chlorpyrifos methyl or phenyltrethione. The label of each has all the instructions you need. We recommend the higher application rates for both of these products, but before you choose which one to use, you should check what is acceptable for your customer and get the advice of your chemical supplier if unsure. For best results, your spray mixture needs to be agitated to mix thoroughly. Today, I want to treat 200 tonnes of wheat. I've selected chlorpyrifos methyl, Reldan grain protector, as the mixing partner with K-Obiol. I'll need to add 4 litres of K-Obiol into some water already in the tank and then 4 litres of Reldan. I then top the tank up to the 200 litre mark with water. Finally, start treating your grain. First, start your auger and then your spray pump. We recommend doing it in this order so that you don't end up with a hot spot of over-treated grain before the grain is flowing. It's also a good idea to check the spray application during treatment to make sure that it delivers 1 litre of mixture per 1 tonne of grain. After you empty your drum, triple rinse it and pour the rinsings back into the tank during refilling. So to sum up, K-Obiol treated grain is acceptable for all users in Australia, but you need to treat it properly. You must treat with K-Obiol once only and stick exactly to the recommended dilution rate and application rate. Using more product will not give you longer or more effective protection, and using less will give you inadequate protection and defeat what you are trying to achieve. On behalf of Bayer, thanks for listening and best wishes for the coming season.